There's one thing I can't stand. It's when a film leaves me feeling cold, when it leaves me feeling apathetic, and it leaves me feeling just meh. Kids, welcome to Piercing Pop Culture as I sit down tonight for an episode of Late Night Contemporary Corner. That's right, this is the series where I sit down to talk, you guessed it, new films. So I just got out of the theater, or I just got out of a screening, and I just need to get my opinions off of my chest. So our film of discussion tonight, Ready or Not 2, here I come. Before I get too much deeper here, let's go ahead and get the letterboxed synopsis out of the way. Moments after surviving an all-out attack from the Les Domas family, Grace discovers she's reached the next level of the nightmarish game. And this time with her estranged sister Faith at her side, Grace has one chance to survive, keep her sister alive, and claim the high seat of the council that controls the world. 4 rival families are hunting her for the throne, and whoever wins rules it all. So this comes in as a direct continuation from the first film, with Samara Weaving returning. Our new cast includes Catherine Newton as Faith, Sarah Michelle Gellar, and we've got people like David Cronenberg popping up, and you'll note there for the cult, the horror, and even the Canadian film fans out there. Elijah Wood in a delightful part, and others. Directors Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillette return, as well as scriptwriters Guy Busick and R. Christopher Murphy. I'm confused by this film. Bettinelli-Olpin and Gillette's films, I have been a huge advocate for. Their incarnation of Scream, the first Ready or Not film, Abigail, I would scream from the roof about how delightful Abigail was. That belly dancing vampire, perfect. These two directors are big, they're brash, they're bloody, and they have a heck of a lot of fun. They don't take anything too seriously. And then we came to this film. This didn't feel like a film with the same identity, at least to me. It wanted to be a horror comedy in places, but then there are times where it was just taking itself too seriously. And I should probably give you a quick warning. I'm going to try not to spoil anything, but just proceed with caution. And if you really want to go into this cold, definitely go check it out. Come back, let us know your thoughts. But this was a film that didn't seem to know what it wanted to be. This has an almost John Wick-like expansion of the world, but then at the same time, this expansion of the world complicated the fun and the kind of the weirdness that usually hangs over this script. This for me felt a lot slower pace, and what I would have expected a bigger film, a more over-the-top film. And if you've seen the end of the first film, you know the incredible level of over-the-top violence that can be reached. I don't feel like this movie really hits that. I found myself almost bored as one scene stretched into another. There's a couple very good action sequences. There's one really great fight scene in the middle involving Samara Weaving and tear gas and this film's delightful soundtrack that felt like it harkened to what this film should have been. But there just wasn't the same winking sense of fun. You know, in that first film, you had Adam Brody, and then there's that Christian Brunn performance. Actors who really know how to lean in to the winking, lean into that unspoken sense of just ridiculousness. Truthfully, this time around, I felt like there were so many people who were just in different movies. Ultimately, Elijah Wood, and this will be a surprise to no one, Elijah Wood understood the assignment. And I wish that this movie had been the movie that Elijah Wood was in the entire time. He was pitch perfect, beat for beat, and I adored every second of that performance. And there are moments of gold throughout. There are some great Sarah Michelle Gellar moments, but it doesn't hold up, forcing more of a world into this story. And I really hate myself for saying that because I'm a frustrated writer. I'm usually an advocate for character motivation and finding the humanity. How often do I scream about that from the rooftops? Learn about your people. Let your actors do what they do best. In this film, I found myself not necessarily wanting the depth to the characters. I wanted fun, outrageous body horror that we had in the first film, the action, the weirdness, the insanity of a young woman in a wedding dress having to fight her way through a mansion. There isn't as much just of that. This is a more sedate film. I think in places, when it lets its hair down, and I think it really figures that out in probably towards the end of the second act into the third, this film finally, to me at least, figures itself out and kind of decides what it wants to do. And at that point, it's probably at its most memorable best. Sean Hattasy, in particular, now he's a name that is admittedly new to me, and I'm looking at his filmography, and there's definitely a lot there I need to dive into. And he seems caught in the tonal inconsistencies in this film. At any given point, he's the underutilized, the underappreciated, the slightly idiot, rich brother. But then there's a menacing side, and he's such a darn fine actor. He's an almost, while Elijah Wood is winking and having fun through the humor in this narrative, Hattasy's at the other end of the spectrum. He's playing it for the cheap seats. He's so deep into this character that he almost belongs in a different movie. In places, he's too good. He's too villainous. There's an interesting relationship set up there with Sarah Michelle Gellar, and I never quite felt like I found where that wanted to go before everything comes to its eventual conclusion. And ultimately, this feels like a movie that maybe wanted to do too much. Perhaps it was bigger, it wanted to be bigger than it should have been. As I walked out, though, I just found myself wondering, did this really need a sequel? I was thinking about that as I was watching the trailer as well. This felt like the first film in 2019 felt like such a moment of lightning in a bottle. This was a small film. This was an intimate, it felt like a low budget work of horror comedy that just hit exactly the way that it should have hit. And the second film, it's taking a bigger bite, but it feels like, to me, it loses that sense of fun that was so refreshing in that first film. And ultimately, that was a bit of a letdown for me. This is going to hit different for everyone. I know even talking with people after the screening, there were definitely different opinions. There were plenty of people that really liked it. So go into this one if you're curious. Take a look. Let us know what you think. Seek it out. Always support the theatrical. I'm always for that. Ready or Not 2, Here I Come, opens in theaters in the United States at least this Friday around the country. I will go ahead and bring this episode of Piercing Pop Culture to a close before it gets any more unwieldy. I am a little behind schedule just because, as I mentioned before, I was sick, but hopefully catching myself up. I'll have another drop coming and hopefully get back on pace for this weekend. I wanted to post something for the Oscars, but just wasn't sure how to do that. Wasn't sure I had the words to discuss it at the level I wanted to. So hopefully I'll have something additional coming up on Sunday, and maybe I'll talk Oscars yet. We'll see. But thank you for joining me here at Piercing Pop Culture, everyone. Have a good one all.